What is up, guys? Winter Kills here, and welcome back to a brand new deck profile, this time around for Atlantean Mermails, of course, post-April 2020 ban list here in Master Rule 5. We're going to go ahead and get right into it, and of course, I want to mention a quick shout-out to Imperium Duelists. If you guys are interested in this beautiful playmat that I'm rocking today, the Ultimate Brawl playmat, you can find it available on their website alongside other amazing playmats. If you're interested in these sleeves as well, these two-toned armor sleeves, they have available on their website also. You can get them all for 10% off using that discount code WinterKills10 off. You also support the channel in the process by doing so. And if you're buying anything off a TCG Player and you want to help support the channel just by shopping on TCG Player, use that affiliate link down in the description below. It should be that first link in all my videos. You can click that, check out, and a small bit of revenue from the purchase that you made will go to help support me in doing what I do. So definitely check that out if you haven't already. But let's go ahead and get into the profile here. We have 3 copies of Abyss Megalo, 3 copies of Teus, 2 copies of Pike, 2 copies of Gund, and 1 copy of Mandarin. That rounds it out for the Mermails. 3 copies of Deep Sea Diva. I still don't have my 3rd copy yet. Things in the mail have been a bit slow as of late, as you might have expected. But of course, making do with what I got. So I do have a rare one coming because I'm not spending $100 on the 3rd one. So yeah, it'll do for now for a replacement. But we also have 3 copies of Atlantean Dragoons, 3 copies of Neptibus, 2 copies of Atlantean Heavy Infantry, and 1 copy of Atlantean Marksman. Then for the rest of the waters, we have 1 Mulan Glacia, 1 Lapis Dragon, and of course our Needle Fiber targets, 2 copies of Fishborg Launcher, because that card is pretty good, I heard. Now moving on to the spells, we have 3 copies of Call by the Grave. Then we have 2 copies of Pot of Desires, 2 copies of Pot of Avarice, 1 copy of Monsterborn, 1 Instant Fusion, 1 for 1, 1 Upstart Goblin, 1 Moray of Greed, and last but not least, 1 Abyssgale of the I Negate, Super Poly, and Dark Lure No More. Now we'll run into the extra deck. For our synchros, we have 1 Trishula Dragon of the Ice Barrier, 1 Adamancipator Risen Dragite. I ordered my copy the other day, but it won't ship until the 3rd, which is tomorrow from the day that I'm recording this. So definitely want to play this card in here. Just don't have the physical copy yet. 1 Bryonax, same thing with Desert Locust. Don't have my copy yet, but this card's really good, of course, for Needle Fiber. 1 Rare Fish for our only fusion, 1 Needle Fiber. This card still hasn't shown up yet. 1 Alacia, 1 Mistar Boy, 1 Anemone, 1 Kara Sheep. Our Xyz consist of True King of All Calamities, Mermail, Abyss Gaius, 1 Bahamut Shark, 1 Abyss Dweller, and that 1 Lonely Totally Awesome. So that is it for the full deck profile. Now we'll go into the deck breakdown. So here we have laid out the starters for the deck, and we can start with none other than Mermail Abyss Teus, of course. One of the best cards within the deck, and is a part of the best 2-card combo in the deck, which consists of itself and the Atlantean Dragoons. It's just a very, very versatile card. Only requires 1 discard is what really makes it so special. Discarding any water to search a level 4 or lower Mermail monster. So grabbing Gund and Mandarin Pike, of course, are your main targets. But the simple fact that he only takes 1 discard makes him very easy to activate. It gets our engine going very effectively. Overall, just a great card to start off your engine. Next up, we have the Deep Sea Diva, which has recently just gone to 3 on the newest ban list. This card solely exists to get Neptibus out of the deck, but now also serves the purpose of being able to make Needle Fiber, which can tutor out Fishborg Launcher from the deck, and soon we'll have a good, a bit of value by being able to tutor itself out. Needle Fiber that is tutoring this card out to be able to help make the Gravenous Crocosaur come Eternity Code, but this card is great nonetheless. Then we have the 3 Neptibus, the Atlantean Prince. They're like the textbook definition of a starter card, if you will, sending Atlantean to adding Atlantean, and can reborn an Atlantean when it's discarded to the graveyard for the effect of a water monster. All around fantastic card. 100% gets your engine going. Anytime you see any of these 3 cards together in combination, it's probably going to be a good and productive turn. 2 Pot of Desires, of course, the definition of a starter card is something that gets your engine going, but also allows you to see in more cards. And Pot of Desires is a card that allows you to do that. Very easy to activate as well, so long as you're not under Droll and Lockbird, Imperial Order, or Anti-Spell. Things like that, very easy to activate. Then we have 1 for 1. Basically, your 5th copy of Neptibus, if you will, and Moray of Greed, same concept there behind this card as Desires, simply allowing you to put back bad cards, bad water cards that you don't currently want at the time to hopefully draw into new and better ones, allowing you to see, at the end of the day, more cards. That is it for the starter cards. Pretty self-explanatory. Now we'll go ahead and take a look at the superior extenders, and then additional, and then following that are defensive cards and things like that. Alright, so here we have laid out our superior extenders for the deck, starting with Mermail, of course. Very similar to that of Teus, but this card requires 2 waters to discard, making it a bit harder to get a really efficient combo started with it, because it'll require, obviously 2 waters, and waters that are going to give you some varying effects. And this card only searches an Abyss Scale, which really isn't used as an extender, whereas Teus can search a card like Gund, Pike, or Manor, which can act in some cases as extenders as well, as you see here. So this card, not as great as, getting plays going, but still nonetheless a very powerful card that we want to have within the main deck, playing 3 course because of Desires. Yes, it is very searchable with Dragoons, but again, I am playing Desires, so I would like to play 3 copies, to decrease my chance of banishing all the copies within my deck. Mermail, under certain circumstances, could be considered a starter card. So this card does, of course, serve as a cross-roll compatible card. So yeah, we'll definitely wanted to include it here in this category. Atlantean Dragoons. This card is incredible. If it's sent to the graveyard to activate the effect of a water monster, you can add a Sea Serpent from your deck to your hand. Very generic card. Searches any Sea Serpent. It searches a wide range of cards within our deck. In this card, you want to try to basically resolve as many times as you possibly can, given in a single turn, because the more times you can resolve its effect, the better your board will be for it in the end. So definitely the best extender within the deck, hands down. Then we have 2 copies of Mermail Abyss Pike. This card really, can start as a starter card, discarding a card like Dragoons to search a level 3 card like Gund for more plays. But this card is really great mid-combo for being able to, summon itself and then discard Prince to revive Dragoons to help make a rank 4 play. None other than Bahamut Shark, or of course Dweller could work also. And then giving you, of course, another opportunity to trigger Dragoons or possibly get an interruption on your field or a floodgate for your opponent. So this card is very, very nice to have within the main deck. Was playing Aqua Spirit, but since Toad went to 1, there was really no reason to play multiple Bahamut Sharks and play cards like Aqua Spirit or White Stingray. So I decided I'd go with Pike because, of course, it is searchable, can help make some anti-Nibiru boards, because you can help, get Toad on board within your 5th summon by using Pike and Teus and Prince to revive Dragoons, and then, Anemone plays. So this card, very, very nice. And then Gund, who could forget Gund? If it's discarded, you can special summon a Mermail from your graveyard. So that adds greatly to the ceiling of our plays, being able to bring back Megalo, Pikes, Alacia, even, for an additional interruption during our opponent's turn. So this card, of course, is fantastic. And again, I wanted to play multiples of these because of the Desires. And then we have the one of Instant Fusion here. Unfortunately, it did go to 1. It wasn't a direct hit to the deck, but a hit nonetheless. Cross Sheep shenanigans aren't going to be as good as they once were, but that is the main reason to play it. I think it's still worth to play it, because if you do see this card with any 2 monsters, you get yourself basically a Bahamut Shark and Toad and a triggering of Dragoons, which is fantastic. So definitely still like the one of Instant Fusion here. And then, of course, 1 Monster Reborn, because getting free bodies out of the graveyard is always nice, very helpful if having to go second. And yeah, just overall a very, very solid card. Probably will get replaced, though, in the future once the Deep Sea Aria spell comes out in Eternity Code. But for now, going to play the Monster Reborn. So now we're going to take a look at our additional extenders. Alright, so here we have laid out our additional extenders for the deck. First of all, Moulin Glacia. The main reason this deck is, renowned for its hand looping capabilities is this card right here. Searchable via Dragoon, since it is a Sea Serpent, and can be special summoned from your hand to the field while you have exactly 5 water monsters in your graveyard, and then it takes 2 cards from the opponent. This card is very, very great. Incredible going first card. 2800 body that hits the field. Of course, when it does leave the field, you will lose your next battle phase or your next turn. So that can be a bit of a downside, so you do want to try to protect the Moulin Glacia as much as possible. But it is a fantastic card to set up mid-combo. Although very hard, I would say hard in some cases to set up. So that's why I would label it as an additional extender. It really doesn't do much as a starter card, doesn't do much as a superior extender, more of a finishing card, if you will. Lapis Dragon, same thing can be said here. This card could be labeled as superior as well. Definitely not a starter card by any means, but basically if it's added from your deck to your hand, or added from your grave to your hand, you can special summon it. But when added from grave to hand and then special summon, if it leaves the field, it will be banished. But it is a tuner, more importantly, so it does help make Needle Fiber off of Prince if you don't have access to Diva. So if you definitely need to get into Fiber some way, with just Prince, Lapis Dragon can help you do that. It can also help make other great synchro plays also. Mermail, Abyss Banner, same thing said here. Doesn't really do much as a starter or a superior extender, but once in the graveyard through a Teus setup, can help manipulate the levels of your Mermail monsters, mainly to make them level 9, your Teus and Megalo, that is, to help summon the True King of all Calamities. And then we have the Fishborg Launcher, the perfect Needle Fiber target specifically for Mermail because it is a level 1 tuner, can revive itself from the graveyard much like Blow Up Bulb could, but we just need to have all waters in our grave, and can help make Adamastia Rise Dragite, or the Adamancipator Risen Dragite as it is called now here in the TCG, or Trish, or Bryo, whatever synchro you're trying to make, White or a Whale if you're playing it. You know, it is very, very helpful for doing that. And if you happen to draw it, unlike the, you know, Jet Synchron, you can discard it off of your water monsters, which is really, really nice. And there's a cool combo you can do, I believe, with Teus, Prince, and this card will end on Moulin, Trish, and BFD alongside the other combos you can do with this deck. And that's without Needle Fiber, using just those 3 cards. So these are our additional extenders for the deck. Now we're going to take a look at removal and defensive cards. Almost forgot to talk about the Pot of Avarice. Again, this is a card that is great for resource management, which this deck can struggle with, especially with how quickly we can go through all of our Dragoons in a given turn. But yeah, this card definitely an additional extender. Takes a bit of setup to get 5 engraved. Can make bad hands worse, but I'm willing to take the trade-off. I would not play 3 of this card. I was playing 1 for a little while, but I'm going to try bumping up to 2, and so far it's been promising to see it a little bit sooner to have a chance to recycle those key engine cards back to the deck and also draw some more extenders in the process. So that's where I would put Avarice. But now moving on to the defensive cards, as I had mentioned before, we have 3 Call by the Grave. This card is great because we are very, very susceptible to hand traps. Cards like Ash stopping our Diva, and cards like Drone Lock just slowing our turn down really next to nothing. So having Call by the Grave in the main deck is very, very important. And then our defensive cards consist of, or removal cards, if you will. Call by the Grave can be pretty defensive. Removal, this is pretty much a defensive card as well, being able to turn off cards like Dark Ruler and Super Polymerization because this does not negate effects. So that helps to stop Super Polymerization because it's not activating in response directly. It is activating once that effect resolves. So this card is pretty good for stopping that. Also stops Dark Ruler no more, as I had mentioned. Marksman and Infantry, searchable off of Dragoons, destroying face-up cards, destroying set cards. So these cards are great for that. Built-in removal is always nice, searchable removal, and then the 1-up start, of course, only exists in the main deck to lower the deck count below 40, so we can have a very, very consistent deck. Now we're going to run through the extra deck real quick. Starting with the Xyz monsters, some of these are pretty standard. True King of all Calamities, one of the best Floodgate Xyz that you can make in this game, and we can make it with Mander. It just sucks that it takes Mander and just Mander alone, which means if you don't see Teus, you're not making this. And there's a majority of games where you probably won't see Teus because it's not searchable during your turn. So it's questionable sometimes whether or not this card should be made or even played, but you know, the going first, you know, capabilities this card offers is pretty powerful, so you might as well just play it at the end of the day. Gaios, again, incredible Floodgate, can be made with just 2 level 7 waters, so very easy to get into, and hands down a staple in Mermail, and can be equipped with Mizuchi, unlike True King of all Calamities. Bahamut Shark, again, extender, basically just get the Toad, which is a great Floodgate, and Resource Recur. So this card is amazing, again, in another Floodgate. And these cards are great also because we can detach Dragoons from them and trigger Dragoon's effect to get another search while also going plus on our opponent. And then we'll take a look at the links here, starting, I believe, with just these 5 links. There's no Boral Sword in here currently because I'm just opting not to play it because I just don't think it's 100% needed. Feel free to play it if you want. But I like having Mistar Boy because it allows you to be able to link off an enemy, which is very crucial. And an enemy is still a key staple in the deck because it can revive Prince, to use its effect if you had to discard it early on in your turn. Needle Fiber, of course, going to get you that Diva or that Fishborg Launcher, and then allowing you to summon the Desert Locust during the opponent's turn to knock an additional card out of their hand, up to 4 cards with this variant. Cross Sheep, again, for the instant fusion plays, and Alacia, of course, is a mainstay in the extra deck. Currently playing 1 right now. I would play 2 if I had more room, but allows you to search Teus during your opponent's turn, and also gets a great effect when destroyed. So a great engine piece for the deck. And then, of course, the engine requirement really for the instant fusion is the rare fish. Then we have Desert Locust, Bryo, Adamascia Risen Dragate, or the Adamantipazer Risen. Basically, for the hand loop plays, and this card is facilitated a lot more easily now with the help of the Needle Fiber, getting that level 1 tuner out of the deck. This Prince and any Teus or Megalo will get you into this. This card is great for removal. Not only does it look gorgeous, but it's very easy to get into with Prince and the help of the Lapis Dragon for removal cards. Again, we already talked about this for the Needle Fiber. This card is very, very new. Probably just coming out, officially in the Secret Slayer set. But it takes, 1 tuner plus 1 or more non-tuner monsters to level 8. And basically, if you have a water monster in your graveyard, you can negate a spell or trap effect as a quick effect. You can get into this with just, Megalo or Teus and any level 1 tuner, mainly the Fishborg Launcher. So this card is fantastic. Can negate evenly match, which is really, really good. But yeah, that's going to do it for the extra deck. Now we'll talk about the side deck real quick. I'm going to put up a mock side deck and also talk about other choices that could be played real quick. Omega could be played in the extra deck as well. That is basically part of the 5-card hand loop variant. But I really wanted to play the Adamascia Rise Dragite over the Omega just because I prefer that, main decked, access to some negation power, through the help of that Fishborg Launcher. But yeah, I mean, this build is pretty standard for the most part. Pot of Desires doesn't have to be played. You could easily play a second Moray of Greed and then replace this with something else. You can play hand traps like Ash Blossom and Infinite Impermanence. But yeah, cards I would probably typically side out would include 1 or 2 Avarices. If you are going second, you could side out the Moulin possibly, even though I do like to keep the Moulin Glacia in most of the time. A copy of Pike and Gun could be sided out very easily. Same thing with a copy of Monster Reborn. And yeah, that's probably about it. Moray of Greed could probably get sided out also. So you do have some room to side deck in this deck, of course. I wouldn't side out anything else like Megalo, Teus. Definitely not Diva, Prince, or your Dragoons. You'd be a madman to do that. You could side out a copy of Call By also. So yeah, we do have, a healthy amount of room in this deck when it comes to side decking for going second cards like Nibiru, Gamma Seal, Dark Lurnamore, Twin Twister, whatever it may be in your specific side deck or the one that I put up on the screen. But yeah, that's going to do it for this deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed. I did I started a new series a few days ago called the Testing Sessions, where I showcase this deck playing on YGO Pro against 3 random matchups. If you guys want to check that out, feel free to. It should be linked either in a card in the top right here or in the annotation at the end of the video. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Really looking forward to Eternity Code, as we'll get a lot more great cards to work with for this deck. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, we're going to kill signing out. We'll see you guys in the next one.